Tonight, the 7 Action News investigators are holding the governor accountable. Turns out Rick Snyder, former Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick, and Wayne County Executive Bob Ficano all have something in common, a little-known fund that can raise a whole lot of money, and they don't have to say who gave them that money.
7 Action News investigator Ross Jones talked to the governor about the same type of fund that's gotten other politicians in trouble.
Well, it's what he didn't say that's raising questions. For a governor who's promised to make state government more transparent, he doesn't seem eager to take his own advice.
Michigan has tried career politicians.
When Rick Snyder ran for governor, he challenged voters to pick him over a slew of other politicians because he wasn't one.
It's time for a nerd.
Well, the nerd won in a landslide, but just over a month after taking office, he borrowed a page from some of those politicians, starting a fund that could take in and spend all the money it wanted to, all in secret. His new energy to reinvent and diversify, or Nerd Fund, is the same kind of nonprofit that others have gotten into trouble for. Take Kwame Kilpatrick. The feds say he pillaged his, using it for things like ritzy vacations, political polling, and hiding bribes. Bob Ficano's fund paid his old deputy, Turkia Mullen, a secret $75,000 salary, courtesy of the businesses that wanted county contracts. Nonprofit experts like George Smith say these kinds of funds are easy to abuse.
The money can come in, the money can be spent, and there's no one to ever say, what are you really doing with it?
That's because unlike campaign funds where politicians have to disclose who gives and how much, these nonprofits operate in the shadows. Snyder's fund was founded to lessen the burdens of government and promote the state's common good. That includes buying a private new security system for the governor's Ann Arbor home, and some new furniture too, costing more than $130,000. But that's chump change when you see just how much the fund raised last year alone, more than $1.3 million. According to the fund's president, funds were also raised to pay for the governor and his staff to travel around the country to promote the state and to help fight a recall effort that Snyder thought he might face last year. All the money comes from secret donors.
You either have very strong convictions or you want a favor done. That's the only thing I can see. You must be getting something for the money you're giving.
Not all nonprofits keep their donors a secret. Just ask L. Brooks Patterson for his, and he'll email a list right over. But when we asked Snyder's office, we were told no. Said his spokeswoman, Sarah Werfel, donors and amounts will not be disclosed. And that surprised us, because it wasn't that long ago that her boss said this.
It's absolutely critical that we have accountability and transparency in financial information.
In fact, accountability and transparency are some of the governor's favorite words.
Better accountability and transparency. Accountability and transparency. Accountability and transparency. Better accountability and transparency.
You might be the state's biggest proponent for transparency, but donors to your Nerd Fund are a secret. Why is that?
We're complying with the law. This is just the normal practice.
Snyder wouldn't agree to a sit-down interview. Instead, his office told us to find him at a public appearance. We did, and we're only allowed to ask 2 questions.
And there's nothing that exciting about it, and we're just following the rules and moving ahead.
If there's nothing exciting or controversial about it, why not release the donors?
Well, again, we've got so many different activities. We're making sure we comply with the law.
But are you more beholden to the donors to the fund, sir, or to the taxpayer?
We've got to get the governor going.
And after that, a whole 32 seconds, our interview was over.
People don't write 5, 6, 7-figure checks for selfless reasons. Most of these people don't want to be in the spotlight. They don't want transparency for what they're doing.
And to nonprofit experts like George Smith, all that secrecy raises one troubling question.
They're trying to garner favors, and they don't want the general public to know it. If you feel strongly about this fund, wouldn't you be, and you're giving it money, why wouldn't you be proud to say you're giving this fund money?
Snyder's office also tells us that the fund paid for a new press auditorium at their Lansing offices and helped sponsor a dinner for the NAACP. And no one would argue those expenses aren't legitimate. But watchdog groups agree. If Snyder wants state government to be more transparent, his own fund might be a good place to start. And maybe they finally are tonight. Late today, I talked with the fund's president, who's agreed to be interviewed about the fund next week. In the board of directors' quarterly conference call that takes place in the morning, well, they've invited me to listen in on it. I'm Ross Jones, 7 Action News.